Hey guys, Richard at Ryden's Room here, or outside, doing my latest review. Now, this is something I actually began several years ago, 3 years back when I was rereading the Alex Cross series, but I only wanted to go with the first 12. I'm pretty sure I started doing the reviews and just didn't. Quite insane, as I had much more time than I do now. But I thought I'd return to it, so just none of the first 12. See, I don't know, 90s, 2000s, spiky mohawk earlier. um, yeah, I basically earlier this year thought I'd pick up the ones afterwards because James Patterson's Alex Cross books I always liked, but I felt they were just getting worse as more time went on. And I get why, he's been writing about the same character, even though you see the character and his family's lives change over the time. But writing the same guy since I think 1993, and when he's still just stopping like murderers or people who commit other crimes, it's going to be the same sort of thing. It's going to be very hard to make it different, but to me I found it was always quite samey. It's like, oh, Alex is in danger, someone else will just kill the bad guy, etc. And it just kind of went on and on. But although I found they've gotten better recently, mainly with a focus to one of the characters, John Sampson. But for some of these books, much like the first 12, I've not read since I first read them. So on to book 13, or part 1 of this batch, Double Cross. It says it came out in 07. I was thinking earlier how far I got at that point of Alex Cross books, and I remember at uni reading London's Bridges and then going back to Jack and Jill when I was getting a train to King's Lynn in 2009. So at some point I was just picking up the ones I'd never read, and it's probably around 2011-12 I read this first time. I still remember actually at Lincoln wanted to buy the newest one, but it's in the hardback. It was really expensive, like £15 maybe more. I know the standard now is 20, sometimes 25 for hardback, and even then I was like, yeah, that's too much with the books not being the best anymore. So, and I remember actually like a few days later seeing it in the Lincoln Market where they sell second books, and I couldn't believe it. It's like, yeah, buy that then. So ever since with new books, I've always just got them from the library. The library Milton Keynes good actually, tends to get the books pretty quickly. But I'm going up to about the third from last book, I think, around 2021, I think it is. I bought a bunch of them. They're all tubbed up, and without funny time, finished all the Star Wars books. So Warhammer became book 1, and this became book 2, and then there's a book 3, which in this case, and right now, the Britney Spears book, then I've got Demon Headmaster, the Witcher book still. So yeah, onto it. So Double Cross. Now, look at my Goodreads. Obviously, I was just trying to remember what I thought of them only about 4 years ago, and I set my account up. No, 5 years ago, 2021, nearly 5. And I gave us 3 stars, which is a bit odd because generally I was given 4 stars to books, and I was wondering why. And yeah, having read it, I still stand by my 3 stars. So, spoilers, it's Double Cross because there's double the villains. So the book has Kyle Craig making his escape from the prison, which is awesome with the way he does it. And then you got the actual main villain, the DCAK, the DC Audience Killer, where he's just killing people in like public places, over the camera, etc. And yeah, he's one psychotic guy. Naturally, he idolises Kyle Craig. I'm still bitter about what they did with Amazon creating a character called Kayla Craig, Amazon TV show. It's so obvious what they did, and that's just wrong. But yeah, on to this anyway. 2007, no one knew that would happen. Kyle Craig is the DCAK, and it sounds like he has an accomplice, who are a brother and sister team, which is kind of sick when you see some of the stuff they do later. But yeah, and actually they're fans of Kyle Craig, and kind of began the trend. Well, so I won't say began. It continuing the trend, pretty much following off from what happened to the Weasel in an older book, of just setting up the villain to be really deadly, and then just killing that person or having him get locked up at the end way too easily. Like, fair enough, the Weasel got away, but he got forced back in by someone worse than himself, and ended up dying pretty pathetically. And same thing about this. So Alex and Bree are like lured to go rescue Samson after they kidnap him. And Alex distracts them long enough for Bree to somehow untie her ropes around her wrists. She escapes, gets hold of a gun, and shoots the woman. No mercy, which is quite cool because Bree is a great character. And then allows Alex to escape, and in a knife fight against the DCAK, a guy who's trained in hand-to-hand knife combat, he just way too easily defeats him. Kyle Gray shows up to enjoy the show, and has every chance to kill Kyle and Bree, but doesn't. Deliberately, of course. I do love that. He basically, Bree tells him to basically put your hands up. Alex's thoughts are, Bree, you should never give him a chance. And sure enough, he naturally escapes. Wears a bulletproof vest because no one goes for headshots in these. And he gets away. But Kyle was never in any danger. After his latest, killing spree, and everyone he feels wronged him, like the judge who sentenced him to death in prison, which was set about 3 to 4 years before the book starts. Carl Gregg escapes, which is awesome because he is like my favourite Alex Cross villain. And yeah, the DCAK and his partner are just pathetically beaten. I really didn't like that. But yeah, there's plenty of good in the book. There's plenty of bad. Samson barely does anything, but I got that he was always kind of like that. It was until much later. It wasn't until much more recently he actually got much more to do, like Cross and Samson, like actually naming a book after him, which is quite cool, making him the main character when Alex is badly injured. Not like the Mr. Smith stuff of one of those earlier books. But yeah, they're bad. So Alex is still choosing his job over his family. He has an argument with Nana, and she basically tells him, all the people you should care about are here. And he's like, this is me, I have to stop it. It gets worse. There's a later book when Nana really tears him apart, because Alex basically has this, like, god complex where he's like, I'm the only one who can stop all these, like, killers, which is completely insane. Of course he's not, but yeah. And I guess Alex forgets that his family were, like, beaten hideously by one of his enemies once. Christine was taken prisoner by the Weasel and could never even be in a room with Alex after that. So yeah, Alex really doesn't care, and it's something that's always bugging me out later books. Like, he's like, no, I'm the Dragon Slayer, I must stop the dragon. And it's like, no matter how, what people close to you are hurt in the process. It's like, yeah. So yeah, that's not good. Not a part of the Jane Ferguson books. The Alex Cross series I've never been a fan of, how little Alex cares about his family's safety. And of course, the Alex and Bree stuff now is just dodgy. I'm not sure how old Alex is supposed to be in this. I figure he's probably got to be about 40. I mean, I know he starts off with Damon 3, Janie 1. I think that's their age at the very beginning of this, like when he loses his wife. And Alec Damon is going off to university, so he's 18. Don't know if he just turned 18 or nearly 19, but anyway, he's an 18-year-old. So, and I figured Alex was probably in his mid-20s, early 20s when Damon was born, so about 40 sounds right. And yeah, Alex is acting like a horny schoolboy. Reminds me of that Family Guy scene when Peter gets basically turned beautiful. Yeah, first he has the fat sucked out of his body, then he gets loads of fake muscles put in and made and given a very like pretty face, and it does feel like Jordan Super, a beautiful people's club, gets a massive ego out of it, and Lois is just so infatuated, she doesn't care. She's like, I know he's become an egomaniacal jerk, but I've never been more attracted to him. Does that make me a bad person? Brian responds, yes, it does make you a bad person. And yeah, she basically says, Lois, you're ogling Peter like a horny schoolgirl. And that's exactly what Alex's thoughts are. I mean, no issue with Alex, having, desires for women, but yeah, he's acting like, a horny schoolboy, as they'd say if it was like, say, the other way around in Family Guy, if Peter was, infatuated with Lois the same way in that episode. So, yeah, that's kind of strange. I feel like they've done this sort of thing a lot better in other relationships before he's had before. Even the very first one in Along Came a Spider was handled much more tastefully. Alex scores with women, but he's never like basically desperate for it, as he comes across in these books. So those are some bad in there, such as that, how badly the villains lose, which is unfortunately a trend that's gotten back a long way. I'm thinking what they did with the Weasel, but it could be someone else. I know Ghost and E.G. does kind of go out in a blaze of glory, but I felt like it was more of a natural ending for him. And I'm talking about the books. Do not quote me of the film Along Came a Spider where he's just gunned down halfway through. God, no, that's a travesty. No, I'm talking about the books. But yeah, overall then, so 3 out of 5. I burned through it really quickly. Actually, I started it yesterday, Wednesday, and got through it like on my days off and at work pretty quickly as well. So yeah, that's it. So I'm going to make sure I do more of these, because while I got the books, I want them to be there in my hand. Physical books forever, physical media forever, etc. If you're a gamer, you're probably not impressed with the news what Sony have done and Rockstar have done, unless you're, say, a PC gamer. But I always make sure I've got the actual book in my hand for these. I'm not going to keep it. Last time I tried to sell all these, they didn't sell at all. Like some poor, like bad printed copies. That's I got told to keep by the people I bought off eBay, and then I just couldn't sell them. Charity Shop took them, but I mean, I was tempted just to leave this on a park bench or something. Like once I left a Dark Tower book on a train for someone when I was on holiday in Spain, I left the Stephen King book, The Stand, there for someone to read, and someone took it the next day, which was quite cool to just talk to a random person about. Like, oh yeah, that book you're reading, I dropped that off yesterday. Hope you enjoy it. So yeah, this is something I could do. Not a good start, to be honest, for the second half, or second and third thirds of the Alex Cross read. I'm going to around book 27, and this is book 13, but nah, I know it's not really worth much money. It's a decent edition. It's better than some of the books I picked up. Maybe I'll look, see if they're worth, but nah, books tend not to be worth a huge amount. I actually got these quite cheap when I was buying the set myself after all. But yeah, wanted to make sure I do the review this time, and I can always go back to reread the likes of Mary Mary, Violets of Blue, etc., and do reviews of them, or I'd rather do it not just on like my head, but actually after a full read. Who knows? Maybe I will go back to the first 12 once I'm done with these. If I really hate the later books, could help me feel better by going back to the best. We'll see. But yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you enjoyed my usual ramblings, and yeah, well, thank you for watching this. If you did, or if you watched any of my previous Alex Cross ones, I'm sure I did some. Yes, I did. I've got the playlist where I can see Violets of Blue as the cover one. So that means I got as far as Violets of Blue, everything up to that point, and just stopped. Or I do maybe just that one. I'll have a look. But yeah, we'll see. Either way, though, from Double Cross onwards, definitely doing the others. But thank you for watching the vid. And even though it's not part of a series or anything, pick this up from the library. Maybe I'll give my thoughts on it. I've heard some terrible things happen to her that are very clear in this book. So yeah, and then it's the Demon Headmaster. So I've got my pattern. It's Warhammer, Alex Cross books, and then a third book, which is basically this, the Demon Headmaster books I've bought for reread, and the Witcher books sort of spread through there. And then maybe Farthing Wood reread. I'd like to do Roald Dahl, but I kind of want to read that to my boy, and even he's probably too young to really appreciate me reading it to him right now. But if I was to do that to myself, and then in a couple of years when he wants to, I just don't want it because it's been that long. Yeah, it feels wrong to read the Roald Dahl books again just yet. I've got plenty else to choose, so I don't need to read book 3 as I set it each time. But yeah, this is next. So, hope you enjoyed the vid, and stay tuned for more Alex Cross books.